Well, we didn't have to wait that long to find out what the Detroit Lions might do with the loss of Alex Anzalone, and would he go on injured reserve? And it looks like we got the answer, man. Coming from the Detroit Lions Twitter account says the Lions announced roster moves. They placed linebacker Alex Anzalone on injured reserve. They actually activate safety Ifeatu Melifonwu from injured reserve, and they sign linebacker David Long to the practice squad. So let's take that piece by piece, shall we? So when it comes to Alex Anzalone, we knew that he was going to wind up going on injured reserve due to the injury being 6 to 8 weeks, and it makes perfect sense for that to happen because the Detroit Lions would be able to open up a roster spot. So why would you keep a guy on, and we talked about this yesterday about Alex Anzalone going on injured reserve. Now, what that does mean is now the Detroit Lions have lost or will use another one of their injured reserve spots in order to be able to bring somebody up. They have 8 in the regular season, not including the 2 that were preseason of the designated to return, which is what Emmanuel was on, and also what Broderick Martin was on. So now you've got those 2 that don't count. You have 8, and then you get another 2 if you go to the playoffs. So that is definitely happening. The Detroit Lions had their 3rd consecutive winning season, which has not happened since 1993 through 95. So shout out to those guys. So no doubt we're going to the playoffs, Alex Anzalone. So we got an additional 2. We knew that was going to happen. Now, Ifeatu Melifonwu, this kind of was a question mark this morning when Dan Campbell, or this afternoon, Dan Campbell did the press conference, and he said that if he got another injury, but it was like hitting the reset button. He got an injury that was unrelated to the injury that he went to IR for, and it was like hitting the reset button. So we didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if that was going to be long-term, if he was going to wind up, because somebody asked him, was he going to be put up for the season? Because the Lions only had about 10 days or so to make a decision. So they decided that they're going to elevate him and probably just keep him inactive and let him heal completely up. So that's good to know that he is going to be a Detroit Lion, be on the active roster for the remainder of the season, even if he doesn't play right away. So don't forget that if he didn't really come alive until the end of November, December, so he still has chances to make something happen. Now, when it comes to David Long being on the practice squad, this was something that was talked about very early on yesterday after we heard the injury to Alex Anzalone, how bad it was going to be, and how long he was probably going to be out. David Long was actually waived by the Miami Dolphins. He was cut waived, same thing after the trade deadline. Every NFL player has to get waived and go through the waiver wire process. So after he was cut by or waived by the Miami Dolphins, when they netted Tyrell Dodson from the Seattle Seahawks. So they claimed Dotson, they waived David Long. Now, this was a guy that was brought up by multiple media outlets about him being a possible replacement for the Detroit Lions. Being on the practice squad, so what this means is that he cleared waivers. He cleared waivers because if he didn't clear waivers, or the Detroit Lions put a waiver claim in for him. Now, this is something you may or may not know. The Detroit Lions, since they are now the best team with the best record in the number 1 spot, they would right now pick 32nd in the draft, and they also have 32nd in the waiver wire priority order. Going into week 12, that is. That could all change based on the status. So either 2 things happen here. Either the Lions, since we signed him to the practice squad, nope, I take that back. Only one thing happened here. If the Lions, I wonder if the Lions did this. Knowing they were 32nd in the waiver wire, why claim them when you would automatically have to put him on the 53-man roster? Now, yes, you made a spot by Alex Anzalone, but then that spot is probably going to be now filled by Ifeatu Melifonwu. So now put David Long on the practice squad. You can elevate him and keep that spot. Instead of, because I think we were maxed out again with 53. So this is a way to get somebody on now a couple weeks from now, or even a couple days from now. You know how the Lions are, man. They could waive somebody and bring David to the active roster. So what it looks like is Alex was replaced roster-wise by Melifonwu. So even though Melifonwu won't play necessarily because he's dealing with a new injury, he will occupy a spot on the 53-man roster. And don't forget, you can only have 48 people dressed on game day. So 46 to 48, something like that. That's why you usually get about 7 inactives per game. So that's probably what's going to happen. So it's quite possible that somebody else, because they're going to have to bring back Broderick as well, and he's going to have to make a roster spot. So what they probably did is they didn't claim, if he didn't clear, they probably didn't claim him because they would force him, that would force him to be on the 53-man roster, but they weren't ready. They weren't yet ready to put him on the 53. You feel what I'm saying? So that could be the case. Now, let's take a look at his stats for the season thus far. Was drafted in the 6th round by the Tennessee Titans out of West Virginia. So far this year has 26 solo tackles, no sacks, no forced fumbles, no interceptions. Spent his rookie contract, being that 6th year with the Tennessee Titans, last year with the Miami Dolphins played a full season, but until then didn't really play a full season. So far has played 8 games, so it looks like he's missed 2. I don't know how many the Miami Dolphins has played, and we know his stats from there. So not really a sack guy. He has 1 sack in his total career. That could change as a Detroit Lion depending on how they use him. So right now, Malcolm plays weak side. Alex was middle, but Jack Campbell will probably go to the middle. That's what I'm thinking. But we'll see how that works. So David Long coming from the Tennessee Titans. You know what? To the Miami Dolphins, and from the Miami Dolphins to the Detroit Lions. I don't know what his contract is, but I would assume that the Detroit Lions are going to take on whatever that is, if they indeed are responsible for it. Since he cleared waivers, I don't think they're no longer responsible for that. So this stuff gets quite complicated. But here's what I wanted to look at. I saw this actually. SI, they made a article about him earlier today. Here's what they had to say about David Long. Says, while the exodus was stunning given the timing, there was evidence of him struggling throughout the year. He had an overall Pro Football Focus defensive grade of 37.0 and a run defensive grade of 41.2. That's according to PFF. Long was tabbed with 14 missed tackles through 6 games played. Says Long could still have major impact for a team down the stretch. However, as his veteran experience could come in handy throughout the final set of regular season games. And that's exactly what is going to wind up happening with the Detroit Lions. At this point, he struggled with the Miami Dolphins. There's no doubt about it. But at this point, I am not upset at anybody that we bring in. This is that home stretch, man, where we're trying to reserve bodies. We're going to be losing bodies. We're going to have to bring people up, and people are going to have to come in and replace people. We've seen that numerous times already, losing Hutch, losing John Kaminsky, the list goes on and on. So I'm not going to be mad. Can he get better with the Detroit Lions? Sure. Yeah. Right now he's on the practice squad, so he needs to be elevated. So we'll see what we got. And then after those three elevations, the Detroit Lions can make a decision on what they're going to do. So we'll see, but I'm not mad at this at all. So I'm guessing he cleared where there's no guessing to it. I keep saying that. If he didn't clear waivers, he would be on the 53-man roster. He would be ineligible to go to the practice squad. So with the Lions being 31-32, I'm guessing that with the waiver priority, you know what? The question that I have is, when is the waiver wire priority claims, when is that updated? Is it updated immediately? Does it take place updated the new league week? So that's a question. If you guys know the answer to that, let me know down in the comments below when the waiver wire priority is updated. Wanted to show you guys very quickly, or tell you that Green Gridiron is having a Black Friday sale. That's right. They started early. We still got 10 days before Black Friday and 9 days from Thanksgiving, but they started early, and they're offering up to 50% of their entire site. So you could get anywhere. Let me go back to this website real quick so I can make sure I read it for y'all. It's anywhere. Oh, I remember it. It's anywhere from $50 to $1,300. It will depend. But the cool part is, whether you say 50 or 1,300, all right, and that's site wide, you can still use promo code DETSYN and gain additional. You can stack it, so you can get their $50 to $1,300 off, whatever it is. You can get that, and you can add the percentage from DETSYN when you apply that code on checkout. So if now's the time, with some stuff going on, utilize this Black Friday sale. Again, you guys can also use a payment option of Shop Pay. I think goes through Affirm. So if you're like me and I like to break my payments up. I really do, because it helps build credit. It helps, not take some pressure off you at that instant. So if you want to do that, that's totally understandable. I think they even have where if you purchase a certain amount, you also could pay over time, where it's just not those 4 payments. Usually stuff like this is 4 payments, and it's equally, there is no down payment, but it's like 4 payments. But I do think they take the original payment right away. So I guess there is a down payment. So you make you make a purchase, and they take that initial, whatever the 4 payments are going to be, you'll essentially have 3 payments after that 2 weeks later, or in intervals of 2 weeks. It's a lot to remember, guys. It's also, I'm super tired. It's been yesterday was quite tiresome, even though it was easy work for us. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below about the Lions signing David Long Jr. to the practice squad. Let me know what you think as well about, we knew Alex Anzalone going to IR, and Ifeatu Melifonwu coming back to the 53-man roster. Well, essentially, he is part of the 53-man roster, so that means that we will see him this year. I'm excited about it because it didn't seem like Dan Campbell, it really didn't seem like he was going to, it was iffy, pun intended. It was totally iffy, man. The way he made it sound, he said that the injury reset, and somebody in the comment section told me that it was his hand, because they noticed on the injury report for last week, if he was on there with a hand injury. If you remember, the original injury that sidelined him to IR was a ankle/Achilles injury. So good observation on them. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.